This is a video on how to make an analogous colored sphere. So we're going to be using colored pencil for this, and my three colors I'm going to be using next to each other on the color wheel are red, orange, and yellow. Alright, a couple other pencils here that I'm going to be using. I have a colorless blender, a white colored pencil. If you don't have a colorless blender, this can be really useful. Pencil to sketch with, and a green colored pencil that I'll use to get some darker values in there. We'll see that towards the end. Of course, make sure all your pencils are sharpened first before using them. I've already done that to save some time. First thing I want to do is sketch out a circle. I would recommend about a baseball size. Make sure you hold your pencil down at a nice low angle. My hand here, you can see the pencil at a nice low angle here. And I'm going to sketch lightly, come around in some circles. Okay. Zoom in on that so we can see that there. And I can clean up and erase some of the lines that you don't want if you'd like to. Let's start with my lightest value. I'm going to start with yellow. I'm going to, again, same technique. I'm holding it with my three fingers here in the back. My hand on the table here, and I'm going to go in a back and forth direction. My top two fingers here, I apply the pressure down onto the paper. This is going to be nice and light. Pretty hard to see even on the camera, it's still light. I want to make sure I get up to all the angles, so I'm going to turn the paper and go in multiple directions. I'm not pushing too hard. You should see some white of the paper showing through still. I'm going to keep turning and getting up to all those edges. Getting a nice even yellow. At this point I got to decide where my light source is coming from. Figure out where the lightest area is going to be and where it's going to get darker. So I'm going to have my light source come from this direction. Here's the sun. And that means I'm going to be lightest up here, the darker as I go across. So I'm going to take my next value, orange, and before I start shading, we got to understand how light curves around a sphere. So let's use this example here. With lights coming down on this here. This is going to be the lightest area where it hits, and curving around like this, getting darker as we go across. So as I use my orange, I am going to avoid going into this area where I want to keep it yellow, my lightest area. You don't want to draw the lines on here, right? Because that's not how I would see things. So I'm going to go around, make like a crescent moon shape. I'll go in my second direction here. At least a second direction. But now with pencil, I would have taken some paper towel or a blending stump and kind of push this together to transition that. But colored pencil doesn't work like that. It's not going to blend like a pencil. So what I'm going to do here is, from this area going towards into the yellow, I'm going to go into there but pressing lighter. So I'm pushing the same pressure here, and as I go this way, I lighten up. And then I'm going very light, going back into my area down here, and I'm going to push a little harder until I kind of match that color. And that's gradually going to transition from that yellow into the orange. I don't want to see a big jump from yellow to orange. I want to go gradually. And you can still see a little bit of a jump right there. I'm going to go really light right in here. And as I go towards that area, I'm pushing harder. I can even create a darker orange down back in here. Choking up high on the pencil, pushing down a little harder. Not pushing down as hard as I can. Okay. Now I'm going to do my red. And I'm going to just kind of do this area back in here, kind of like a fingernail area. Again, I'm holding kind of low, pretty far back, and I'm not pushing too hard yet. Way in the back here. And I find it just easier to turn the paper as I'm going in multiple directions to get up to those edges. A little darker so you can really see that red start to show through. And now, so I don't have that big jump from red into orange, I'm going to be pushing harder here, and as I go this way, I'm going to lighten up. Now coming back this way, I'm going to push a little harder. I have to be able to transition kind of on the fly, going from pushing harder and lightening. And now light to harder. And I just keep working that edge. As you can see, I'm turning the paper as I go. Starting by pushing harder, working to lighter. This is a lot of layering in here. Creates a much more complex looking shape. All right, you can see a gentle, subtle transition from yellow into red. Now I can go in here and get a little more red by pushing. I'm choking up a lot on the pencil, pushing a lot harder, really get that red in there. Anytime I can always jump back and add some more yellow, right back over everything with the yellow. That's fine, get a little more yellow of a tint. Colored pencil is all about continuing to go over it with more and more layers. Now this is where I can use some blending tools, all right? If you have a colorless blender, that's great. If not, white colored pencil will work as well, all right? Let's start with the colorless blender here. We can see it looks like it's a white colored pencil, but we can see this one, it says colorless right down there. It's a Prismacolor brand. And what we're gonna do with that is just kind of color. I'm definitely holding up higher on the pencil. Not in writing, I'm not going straight up and down on it, still nice, a little bit lower. And I'm pushing a lot harder, and we can see that kind of just smears the colors together. I can really take my time and hold a little closer and get in some of those little white spots. I can kind of blend across until those little white areas disappear. We can see a little bit of that blended there. Now, before I mentioned I had a green colored pencil. Green is the opposite color of red on the color wheel. I knew that red was going to be my darkest color in here, so if I want to get even a little bit darker, I could go ahead and add some green down at the bottom here, just to give myself a little more range of value. And once you mix that red and green together, it gives it a very dark color. And I'm doing that instead of adding black colored pencil. Okay? I find that adding the complementary color, the color opposite on the color wheel, is a nice way of darkening a color without adding black. But black would work as well. I'm going to use that red to kind of go over this area that didn't get anything on it before and work on blending that in a little bit. There we go. I just want to get a little wider range of value. I could also, do the opposite there. I could add a little white up into, or blend with the white and the yellow, create a little bit lighter of a yellow as well there, just pushing that range of values a little further. Back to the colorless blender there. And this can get your hand tired, you're pushing pretty hard. You'll also need to sharpen this ever so often, as it's going to wear down pretty quick. I don't have to do the blending, I don't have to use my colorless blender. I can leave my colored pencil with a soft look. I call this a soft colored pencil look. This gives it a more glossy look. We call it burnished. But it is a nice way of mixing colors together. Just gonna get half of this sphere done, burnished with colorless. Realize I can still go back in and add in colors if I need to. I can give it a little more yellow or red or orange if I think that's necessary. Okay. Now I'm going to burnish a little bit with the white right next to this. You'll see it's going to be a lighter tint because it is adding that white. So I want to do them right next to each other. But still works pretty nice in case you don't have a colorless blender. So there's a little strip of white next to it. And then we have the one area that was left unburnished or soft color to it. So there you go. There's how you use some colored pencils to gradually transition from one color into the next, from light to dark, and how to do a little bit of blending.